Hey, what's going on, GameLeapers? This is Coach Cheeks, and in today's upload, we're going to be going through the 20 most OP champions for patch 12.11 because the changes, well, they actually got released on Twitter, and we'll be going through most of these because most of the champions on this list are getting changed next patch. So to know all the details, make sure you stick around for the entire video, and as always, if you want to master any of the champions in this video or in the game itself or any of the 5 roles, make sure you check out the GameLeap website in the description, comment section, because our challenger players and coaches make the videos to help you reach your peak potential on the Rift. We have all the knowledge, all the info you need, so check out those links and get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the countdown. Now, this countdown, I'm not going to count down from the 20th best to the best, because we really don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to throw 20 champions into the mix, and you guys in the comments can work out who you think is going to be the most broken from the 20 champions we mentioned, and you can even make your own list if you want to, no worries. Now, the first champion I'm going to mention, this is Jax, and because Blade of the Ruined King is getting actually buffed in 12.11, so the lifesteal is going up to 8%. For Jax, this is just brilliant. Also, lethal tempo is getting changed, but guess what? It's not getting nerfed for melee champions, so Jax is still going to be super happy with Divine Sunderer, the attack speed from Bork, lethal tempo with his passive, the innate damage he has, more champions getting HP next patch as well, because the tank mythics are giving you more HP, Sterex Gauge as well might be seen more, and Jax loves playing against these champions, so he will still be an absolute weapon in the top lane and on the Rift. Now, following Jax, we have another Divine Sunderer abuser, this being Viego. But Viego can also run Blade of the Ruined King, and because it's giving you more lifesteal next patch, this should be of interest. And in fact, Viegos who actually rush Bork at the moment in 12.10 and then go Divine Sunderer have statistically a better chance of winning. So this can only be good for Viego, and this is why he's also got to be in consideration. Now, moving on, we're going to stay in the jungle here and talk about Rengar, who's actually getting a couple of nerfs in 12.11. So the first of these, your base HP is going down by 35 to 620, and your ultimate's cooldown, it's increasing at later ranks. So this means that when you're level 11 and level 16, your ultimate won't be on like a 30-second cooldown. But here's the thing, you can probably cheat the system in a way by going Ultimate Hunter in your runes. So I don't think these nerfs are going to be too impactful. Your win rate might drop a little bit, but the point is Rengar is so OP at the moment, and this will just make him OP. Now, next on the countdown, we have the best anti-mage champion in the game, and this, of course, is Kassadin. And for Kassadin next patch, you might be like, but Everfrost is getting nerfed, and you're right. The slow and the stun route is going down to 1 second, no longer 1.5. So the enemy champions are going to be able to escape this more. But here's the thing, guys. Luden's Tempest is actually really underrated on Kassadin, but what's also happening in terms of the mage mythics in 12.11 is the Crown of the Shattered Queen is getting more AP. And this item on Kassadin is so good because when you jump in, the enemy champions will deal less damage. Now, it has a little less value in this meta because it's less bursty, so you might not need to rely on the item as much, but still, just because mages are very strong and popular at the moment in the mid lane, Cass has to be on this list. Now, next on the countdown, we're heading to the bot lane here and talking about Ashe, the first of, well, actually many AD carries, and Ashe might be a bit of a surprise inclusion because she's not the most popular AD carry compared to something like Jhin or Lucian, but she's actually performing better than these across the board, which is kind of going unnoticed. And because Bork is getting buffed next patch, so more lifesteal, it's going to be a lot harder to kill you in the mid to late game, which it already is because when you have an Enchantress next to you, like a Lulu, Soraka, Sona, Janna, whoever it is next to an Ashe, very hard to kill. And because of your innate utility with your Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the only worry for Ashe is that lethal tempo is getting nerfed for ranged champions, like I mentioned for Jax. So the bonus attack speed per stack for ranged champions is going down by 2%. But here's the thing, guys. Remember, you're still getting the extra range at max stacks. And because the meta will still be tanky, if not tankier, you're easily going to get to the 7% bonus attack speed, which is still a decent amount. And the extra range for a champion who has a lot of range innately, I don't think this is a massive nerf like some people are making out to be. But again, feel free to leave your opinions in the comment section. I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Now, ahead of Ashe, we're heading to the top lane, and we're talking about a champion here who will be happy that Gore Drinker is getting buffed, so the haste from the mythic passive is going from 5 to 7, this being Fiora. But the funny thing is, guys, Fiora, you don't even have to build Gore Drinker. You can go Divine Sunderer instead, and like I said for Jax, this will be even better in 12.11 because the tank mythics are going to give you more HP, and you'll see more of them. But Fiora anyway, because of her true damage from her vitals, deals a ton of damage to these champions anyway. But of course, we have to mention here that Death's Dance, Mora Malmortius, these items are getting nerfed. So for Mor, the cooldown and the shield, this is going up to 75 seconds, so a 15-second increase. And for Death's Dance, the heal ratio is scaling off 20% less of your bonus attack damage. So in the late game, you will be healing a bit less, but for Fiora, you probably have enough healing anyway. Like with your ultimate and 120% bonus AD from Death's Dance passive, that is still easily enough. So Fiora will still boast a lot of her power, if not all of it. These nerfs look kind of placebo, so that's why she's in this video. Now, Lucian is another AD carry we have to throw into the mix here because of the buffs a few patches ago to his AD per level, so scaling, and also his vigilance passive, so the AD ratio in this, that's also scaling. And Lucian, who is already a very strong AD carry, because nothing is really getting nerfed what you build in 12-11, he will still be very good. But I probably should mention here the Kraken Slayer is actually getting nerfed, and you can go Kraken on Lucian. In fact, you can go Kraken Slayer on Ashe as well. So what's happening is the bonus true damage is going down from 60 to 50, the base damage, and it's scaling less off your bonus attack damage. So not only when you get the item, you're going to feel a bit of a drop off in damage, but also later in a game, as you start getting more attack damage from items, you will definitely feel this. But the great thing is on Ashe, you can go Shield Bow or Gale Force. Lucian as well, you can go Gale Force. So it's definitely less of a worry than if you're playing a champion like Master Yi, for example, who solely relies on Kraken Slayer. Now, Kayle is another champion, and probably a champion who many of us think is the most broken in the game. But like I mentioned for Ashe, the lethal tempo nerf to ranged champions is certainly going to affect her. But here's the thing, are you going to get to the max stack so you get the extra range? Of course you are in 12-11. So I don't think these champions are going to feel the lethal tempo nerf all that much, but Kayle might feel the nerf to Riftmaker that's coming in 12.11. So the ability power is going down by 10 from 80 to 70, but you're really getting Riftmaker for the extended trades you'll be partaking in. You're not getting it for the raw damage and the AP, you're getting it so you can go toe-to-toe with those top lane bruisers in those long fights. So I don't think this is really going to mean all that much, and Kayle will still be dominating the Rift in 12-11. Now moving on, a champion who is actually getting directly nerfed in 12-11, this is Rast or Red Kayn, who Riot like to call Slayer Kayn. So your Q's damage, it's still going to deal damage based off 65% of your AD, but what's getting nerfed is the number that's based off the target's maximum HP. So this is going down by 0.5% based off each 100 AD you have. So it might sound a little complicated, but let me put it this way, if the target has a lot of HP, you'll be dealing a little bit less damage to them. Honestly, very placebo, Red Kayn will still be carving up play, and that's even with Death Stance getting nerfed, that's even with more Malmortius getting nerfed. And remember, Gore Drink is actually getting kind of a nice buff. So once you get to 2, 3, 4, 5 items, you'll have lots of ability haste, which is really the key stat for Red Kayn. So it might even be a better patch for Rast in 12-11. Now another champion I don't really think anyone can argue about being OP in 12-11 as well as 12.10 is Anivia. And Anivia, a bit like Kayle, is getting indirectly nerfed in 12-11. So with Liandry's Anguish at the moment, it's so good because there's so much HP in the game. So what Riot are doing to Liandry's, they're reducing the base burn damage by 10. So you will feel this. As soon as you get Liandry's, it's not going to be as oppressive. But here's the thing, like I mentioned before, for the top laners, the tank mythics are getting buffed, and it's not like the HP per level of every champion in the game is getting nerfed. So most, if not all of the HP in the game is still going to be there. So this is really good for the Cryo Phoenix, and even though this Liandry's base burn damage, it is a bit of a hit, it's not big enough to take her out of the top 20 champions for 12-11. And that's the same for Olaf as well. Now Olaf isn't building Liandry's, but he is getting directly nerfed in 12-11, because in the top lane, this Viking is really the king of the top lane. So what Riot are looking at here, well, they're actually adjusting him. So as far as the lifesteal and bonus attack speed you get from your passive, well, you'll actually be accessing the max stats a little bit earlier, because this will work when you're missing just 70% HP, not close to 80%. And as far as your Q's base damage goes, they're increasing this by 10 at each rank, which is really nice and makes your early to mid game a lot better, which is really when you're strong. But they are nerfing your Q's refund cooldown by half a second. So when you pick your axe up off the ground, you won't have this up as soon. And they're also nerfing your W's cooldown at later ranks. But here's the thing, guys, it's the same at rank 1, and you're maxing your W last, so in the early to mid game, not really going to change anything, but they are reducing the armor and magic resist you get from your ultimate at later ranks. But all of these are late game nerfs, and Olaf is really dominant in the early to mid game, like I said, so I think these are very placebo, and to be honest, these even might be buffs for Olaf in the top lane. Now, one of the more interesting changes that's hitting 12-11, guys, is to Senna. So Riot are nerfing Senna overall, so your Q's base slow is going down 5%, and the slow duration, well, it's scaling to 2 seconds, but it's starting off at 1 second. So in the early game, until you have 5 points on your Q, this will be a nerf, but to be honest, these definitely aren't the biggest. But the interesting change is that the soul drop rate from minion kills, so when you last hit a minion, it's going up to over 8% from 2%. So Senna is an AD carry, you can actually play her as an AD carry now. I mean, you still can, but it's a lot better if you play her as a support in 12.10. 12.11, this is going to open her up to more roles, which brings a bit of versatility and just makes the champion a bit more intriguing for us to play. But maybe the bad thing for Senna in 12-11, guys, is that Eclipse for ranged champions is getting nerfed, and honestly, this might even open up builds that involve Duskblade or Draktar, for instance, because these lethality mythics, they are getting an extra 4 lethality. But just staying with Eclipse for a second, the extra damage proc you get from the passive, this is going to be 3% of the target's maximum HP if you're a ranged champion, so this has been cut in half essentially. And another nerf that will hit Senna in terms of her items, Umbral Glaive, the cooldown in the passive where you're killing wards way too often, this is going up to 40 seconds from 35 seconds. So it will be interesting to see what Senna's do in 12-11, but honestly, the champion will still be incredibly good. good, and I'd love to know what all of you Senna mains think in the comments section about this. Now, just like Senna, Talia is another champion who's very good at the moment, but is getting affected by a few things in 12-11. And when I say these few things, I actually mean direct nerfs. So your E's monster damage is getting nerfed, and your ultimate can no longer be cast within 3 seconds of dealing damage. This means that for Talia, during fights, skirmishes, whatever it may be, you won't be able to use your ultimate to get out or to cut an enemy champion off who's trying to escape. So this is probably going to mean a few more deaths and a few less kills. But the champion is still innately strong. Ever since she got changed a few patches ago, she has been a standout champion. Now, staying with the OP theme, I just have to mention this champion and you guys will understand what I'm talking about, Darius. And for Darius players who are going Trinity Force, which is going to be the case in most games, with Sterit's Gauge getting buffed next patch in terms of the base AD proccing with your bonus attack damage, this means that for Darius, who has one of the highest base attack damages in the game, especially late game, Sterit's Gauge might be a viable option, especially into those team compositions with a lot of burst. The only thing is, there isn't really that much burst in the game at the moment, but still, this does make the item a bit more viable. Now, we also have buffs to Spirit Visage, Randuin's Omen, so armor going up in Randuin's, and the magic resistance going up in SV, so these will definitely be of interest as well. But for Darius, because he's so good in those extended fights, whether you're going lethal tempo, remember this is unchanged for melee champions if you're going Conqueror, so good in this tankier durability meta, because you'll be reaching the max stacks a lot sooner, pair this with your passive, deadly combination, so Darius has to be in this video. Now, moving on, we have Swain, who's also in this countdown. So for Swain, Leandry's getting nerfed, bit annoying, but you will still have enough tick damage, especially once you get Demonic Embrace. But there are a few nerfs hitting Swain in 12-11. So first of all, the healing in your passive. This is going down by 0.5% early game to 6% late game. Your W's damage is also down in later ranks and scaling less of your AEP, and your ultimate's healing per tick. This is down in the late game and also scaling less off your AP. So a little jab in the early game, but a few jabs in the late game, which is really when you become a monster. But Swain is really on this countdown like a lot of the champions who are getting nerfed because they're so darn good at the moment. So even if they do get nerfed, it probably won't change all that much. We will just have to wait and see. Now, Tahm Kench is also getting included in this video, guys, because of the buffs to his passives and the on-hit damage. This is scaling more of your bonus HP. And because Sunfire, Frostfire, Turbo Chem Tank, these are giving you more HP next patch, and also Balmy Cinder is getting buffed, so it's costing 1,000 gold. No longer 1100 gold. This is unreal. Now, your Q's base heal is also getting buffed at later ranks, and your ultimate shield is going up by 150 at rank 1 and then by 50 at rank 3. These are significant buffs for Kench, so whether you're playing him even in the top lane or as a support, this definitely makes him way more playable, and I think he'll be a lot better champion in 12-11 because of it. Now, the final AD carry you guys have to put in your countdowns in the comment section, this is Jhin. And for Jhin, 12-11 has really been a blessing in disguise, because before that, he was kind of struggling with the Gale Force nerfs and just other AD carries being a lot stronger than him. Well, because of the durability meta, this means that for utility-based AD carries, so Ashe, who I've already mentioned, I mean, you can still hyper carry on her, but Jhin as well. The utility you bring to a team composition with your W, with the root lasting longer because of the buffs a few patches ago, with your E, and especially with your ultimate, you're an awesome AD carry for those team fights. And guess what? In pretty much every single elo, there are going to be team fights in every single game. So this makes Jhin a much more important AD carry in the meta, and this is why he's really having success and will continue to have success in 12-11. Now, Wukong is another champion we have to mention here, guys, and even though the Monkey King is getting nerfed in 12-11, honestly, these aren't really going to do much. Your W's cooldown is going up 2 seconds in the early game, and you will max this last, so the 2 seconds it will be there, but to be honest, you're probably going to only use your W once during a skirmish or a fight, but your E's monster damage is getting nerfed by 20%, so your clear is going to be a little bit slower, but honestly, a Q-max Wukong with Divine Sunder and Conqueror, it's still going to be nutty. So not much will really change here. He'll probably still continue to be the best jungler in 12-11, and that's kind of the case for Veigar as well. So for Veigar, your E's cooldown is going up at later ranks, so you max this second. So instead of being on a 12-second cooldown at rank 5, it will be on a 14-seconder. This means you have to be a bit more precise and specific when you use your event horizon, but the good thing for Veigar is your scaling is still going to be there because of your Q stacks, and you are Veigar at the end of the day. But we do have to think about the Everfrost nerf, because the root lasting half a second, well, not as long. This means that when you're trying to land your W and combo a champion, it's going to be a lot harder, and the value of Mercury Treads against Veigar is going to be insane. So it will definitely be more difficult to make Veigar work, but he's so good right now, and I still don't see how this champion is going to be knocked off his perch in 12-11. So those were the 20 champions, guys, who are going to be broken in 12-11. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts, and as always, if you did enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like down below, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future Season 12 uploads, and this has been Coach Jigs. Peace.